my fellow comic book collectors. It's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and these are your questions answered. Each week, on Wednesdays, I basically get your questions, and the next week I answer them. So this week we have a lot of questions. I have a ton of stuff to show you guys, and a lot of stuff that if you watch the whole video, you're gonna get some really cool info. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that I discovered in doing this this video, and I'm gonna relay that to you. Okay, the first question comes from K Munin. How often are you able to find a comic that is on your most wanted list? Really rarely that it's on my top want list, but it seems like I say that, and then yesterday, for example, was it yesterday or the day before? It was like a couple days ago. I just happened to get some major books off my want list. I think it was 4 books on my want list that, were pretty high up on my want list. And that's unusual. And one of them is like a book that there's only 2, I think, known to exist. So that was a really crazy like a want list one. You'll see that one probably in like a couple months because I have to get it sent to me. Yeah, there's some pretty major books that I get on my want list. What I do is I have like a bunch of things where, like, on my comic shop, on eBay, Heritage, and Comic Connect, and a few other places, I have like alerts created where, I put my major wants on those alerts, and anytime they appear, I get a notification. And sometimes I act on that notification. There was a couple books that I were kind of big on my want list, like that I put offers in but didn't get. A good example of that is I'm really trying to get a copy of Detective 122, which is the first cover appearance of Catwoman. It's high on my want list. I really want to get that book. I've been trying to put a best offer in for one that's on my comic shop. It's a restored copy. It's a little bit more affordable because it is restored, but the price that they want for it on my comic shop is like more than the Blue Label sells for, so I thought it was a little bit crazy. So I've been trying to negotiate with them. But every so often one of those books will come up. Generally right now I'm trying not to buy books. I'm really trying. But it just seems like a lot of these big books that are on my want list come up. And I sort of have this thing where I promise myself, I'm not going to buy anything unless one of these books come up. And as I said, this week alone, 4 of them just happened to come up. So it is what it is. I bought like 4 major keys on my want list. So yeah, every so often weird things happen like that. It seems like a lot of books are coming out of the woodwork lately. Next question comes from Black Box Silver and Bronze, and this one actually had to do a huge amount of research for. Can you please provide a first cover appearance list of well-known Green Lanterns? Well, finding the first appearances of Green Lanterns, fairly easy. Finding their first cover appearance, a bit more challenging. But I did manage to find a bunch of the Green Lantern's first appearances and first cover appearances. And we're going to start with, okay, I got all the ones that I have from my collection. There's actually one that I didn't find, and I'll tell you which one that was. I actually know that I have it. I just unboxed it recently, and I don't know where I put it. Tomar Re, which is a Green Lantern with the little thing on his head, like he has like almost like a weird mohawk, and he's got like a beak. He first appeared in Green Lantern number 6, and that was also his first cover appearance. But I can't find that book. It's somewhere in my collection, somewhere in this mess of my room, but I couldn't find it. But I did manage to find a bunch of the other ones, like this one. This is Jessica Cruz's first cover appearance, and first appearance. This is Justice League 31. So that's Jessica Cruz's first appearance and cover. And then we got Green Lantern Corps, number 201. this is like a Green Lantern 201. This is the first cover appearance of Kilowog. Got him right there. Actually, I think it might be the first cover appearance of Chip as well. This is Chip, another character. I think it is his first cover appearance, so maybe double cover appearance there. And then we got Green Lantern 59, which is the first appearance of Guy Gardner. So right there. And then we have Green Lantern number 9, which is the first cover appearance of Sinestro. He actually made his first appearance 2 issues earlier in number 7. So this is Sinestro's first cover appearance. And then we have Far Sector number 1, which is the first cover appearance of Sojourner, I think. Sojourner. Yeah. And a major one is Showcase 22, which is the first cover appearance of Hal Jordan. Kind of a, this is to me the first Green Lantern. Like, the Golden Age Green Lantern, I don't relate to him as much as this one. I kind of knew this one growing up. So for me, this was the first Green Lantern. But the first real Green Lantern was Alan Scott, and he first appeared in All-American Comics 16, which I do not own. That's a very expensive book. Another book that I have, first cover appearance, is Hal Stewart. And this is his first appearance right there. Okay, so those are all the ones. Oh, Hal Jordan, not Jon Stewart. Why am I saying Hal Jordan? So I mixed the two names. Great. Jon Stewart. See, I put Hal Jordan plus Hal Stewart, and it became Hal Stewart. Hal Jordan. Yeah. Okay, I'm weird that way. So yeah, this is first appearance of Jon Stewart. Wow, I keep on wanting to say Hal Stewart, which is very odd. Okay, so those are all the ones that I have in my collection, but there are a whole bunch of others, and I'll give you the others that I do not have. Okay, so we got Sinestro. Kyle Raynor. Now I actually have Kyle Raynor's first appearance, which is Green Lantern 50, I think from the 2nd or 3rd series, from 1994 era. But he didn't make his first cover appearance until Green Lantern 51, so from May of 1994. Then there's Atrocitus, who made his first cover appearance in Final Crisis Rage of the Red Green Lanterns. And he made actually his first appearance in Green Lantern 25 from 2007, who also, and another Green Lantern made their appearance in that same comic, which is Fleeze. And Fleeze made his first cover appearance, though, in Green Lantern number 39 from April 2009. Alan Scott, we talked about. Then we go into Simon Baz, which is, he made his first appearance in Green Lantern Zero from the new DC New 52, which was November of 2012. Then we got another new character. I actually have this one. I just don't know where it is, which is Jade. She made her first appearance and cover appearance in All-Star Squadron 25. And then another Green Lantern is Charlie Vicker. Now, I'm not sure where he made his first cover appearance, but he made his first appearance in Green Lantern 55. He was an actor that was pretending to be a Green Lantern, but then became a Green Lantern. And then we got Tai Pham, who made their first appearance and cover appearance in Green Lantern Legacy #1. And then we got, that's it. That's all the major ones. So, so those are all the major Green Lantern cover appearances. So hopefully that was useful. It was a lot of cover appearances. Okay, next one is Mr. E, the low-grade king. If a collector can't afford the first print of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 or Bone #1, what would be the next print they would go for? Okay, well, this actually has it's a pretty complicated question because, okay, so Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, which is one of the books that I actually happen to own. This is my copy of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1. This is the first print. You can tell that it's a first print because, well, it says on the slab, but normally there'll be like a little extra blood spot in the T. Look for that, okay? If it doesn't have that, it's usually a second print. So that's, and then usually the way the thatching is done, like the way the line work is done, you'll see more lines in the first print. Now, the first print goes for, in a 9/8, so I'm just going by 9/8, goes for around $150,000. That's in the first print. Now, in the second print, it goes for about $14,000 in that, so 1/10 of the value. And in the third print, it goes for about a 40th of the first print value. So, you know, keep on going down now. And then so that's the third print. The fourth print goes for around 1/200th of the value of the first print. And the fifth print goes for 1/100th of the value of the first print. Now you're probably wondering, why does the fifth print go for more than the fourth print? Well, the fourth print and the fifth print have unique covers. They actually have different covers than #1. And #5 is just, the fifth print has a slightly better cover. It's like it's a cool what's the rat's name? Splinter first appearance. Okay, so it has a not first appearance or anything, but just it's a cool cover appearance of Splinter, and he's holding all the turtles. So it's kind of a cool cover appearance. I think maybe it's that reason. It might be slightly lower print run than the fourth print. Sometimes that's what happens. Sometimes the later print runs are a little bit less than the earlier print runs. So the fifth print goes for more than the fourth print. So something to look for. But the fourth and fifth print have unique covers, and sometimes going for a unique cover is kind of cool. So if you're into unique covers, go for those too. But if you like to just have the standard cover, there are so many printings that you can go for to get the standard printing cover. So those are the ones for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. For Bone, that was the other part of the question. We got this book. This is Bone first print. And there's actually, you can, with Bone, it's a little easier to tell the first print. The first print is in red. It will actually say on the indicia on inside that it is a first print. But that's the easiest way to tell. Just look at the color of the bone. So this is Bone #1, first print. Now, a first print of Bone #1 goes for around $14,000. A second print, the bone is written in lime. It's kind of like lime color, and it goes for about 1/30th of that. So a lot less for that second print. For the third print, it goes for about a 40th. So it's around $300, you know, for the third print. Fourth print goes for around $150 in a 9/8. These are all 9/8 prices. And then the fifth print goes for around a 50th of that. It's a little bit more expensive. The fourth print, for some reason, is a little bit cheaper than some of the later printings. Because the rest, all the way up to 9th, go for about 1/50th of the value. So they go for around that $150 range to $200 range for 9/8, even in the 9th printing, which is, I thought was kind of weird. because they can just keep on printing it, and then all of a sudden it's worth a lot of money because of the fact that it's bone #1 reprint. So I thought that was interesting, but really what you would want, I personally would say for both of them, go for that second print if you can't afford the first print, because it's just that close, much closer to the original. I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to first prints. I like to get my first print. I'll hold off on buying something if I can't get that first print. That's just me. But there's actually some later printings of comics that actually go for more value than the original comic. And I'm going to get into two of those. First one is Hulk 377. Now this is the first print. This is actually the first appearance of Professor Hulk. And this goes for about 15 bucks. Not a big comic. Not really that big. However, if you get the third printing of this book, it can go for big money. It goes for around $350. The difference between this and the third print is this green is much more yellowish. It's a lighter color and yellowy. And that's how you can tell if it's a third print. So generally, just like me, I'm a snob when it comes to first, second, third, whatever printings. Well, generally, comic book stores won't treat the later printings as valuable. And often you'll find later printings in the dollar bin. So if you can find a third print of Hulk 377, well, it's a pretty valuable book. So look for that lighter yellowish green Hulk book, okay? So something to look forward to in your hunt. There's another one that actually goes for big, big money. I was shocked how much this one goes for, but it's incredibly rare. And this is really a shout out to anyone from the UK, because Walking Dead 116, the third print of that, is actually the most expensive Walking Dead comic. It goes for around $2,500. And you're probably wondering, why is 116 such a valuable book? And it's more valuable than first printing of Walking Dead #1. And the reason it goes for such big money is it was one of those printings that was kind of not meant to be released, but did get released. And it got only released in the UK. So about 20 to 30 copies, 20 to 50 copies of it got printed and released in the UK. So they're out there somewhere in the UK, these books, and they're just incredibly hard to find. There's only like 50 known copies or less. So yeah, so those are some of the printings. Okay, next question comes from Curtis Cameron. Do you have any IDW EC artist editions? No, I do not. The closest thing I have to kind of like a artist edition or like a collection of EC comics is something I just recently picked up. I mean, really recently. I picked this up like a few days ago. was this The Haunt of Fear, the EC Archives. Now this is from Dark Horse, so it's not IDW, but it just basically reprints a bunch of the different EC Haunt of Fear comics. And it's actually quite cool. It's nice to be able to flip through it. I got this for very little, like $5. I was quite happy to pick it up for $5 at a flea market. So yeah, I was like, $5? Why not? And I can then go through, and it shows all the different ones that are inside. This is actually a key book right here. This one I have. This one was actually mentioned in the Seduction of Innocence, so I was quite happy to get the book that allows me to read, because I have a slabbed actually, do I have a slabbed version? I have a raw version of this, to tell you the truth. I'm always afraid to read my raw books when they're expensive. It's a very expensive book. So yeah, but this allows me to read the book, so I'm quite happy. So Haunt of Fear, the archives. Now I don't have the artist ones. That actually would be kind of cool to get those. And maybe I'll consider getting it in the future. Next question comes from Lady Pop Hunter. Can you show some of your crime comics? Well, I brought a ton of crime comics to show you, and I hope you like them. It should be a pretty good list of comics. I gotta move things around a little bit here, just to create some space. So we're going to start out with one of my favorite crime comics, is Crimes by Women. And this is Crimes by Women number 3. One that was also mentioned in the Seduction of the Innocent. It's just a cool book. And then we got, so most of these will be from my Seduction of the Innocent collection because so many crime books were mentioned in the Seduction of the Innocent. And this is Exposed. And this is Exposed number 6. Another SOTI book. I'm just going to show a whole bunch, so I can't really get into explaining them all. I'll just show them. So this is Crime Mysteries number 1. I picked this up from the Fan Expo. So quite happy to get this one. Crime Mysteries number 1. Then we have Crime Mysteries number 11. Really great strangulation cover. She's going to get strangled. And then we got Crime Does Not Pay. This is one of my favorite as well. I really like this one. I think it's just so crazy. This is a Charles Biro cover. And it's Crime Does Not Pay number 46. Then we got Martin Kane, Private Eye, number 4. Nice. Crime Never Pays. And some more Women Outlaws. This is Women Outlaws number 1. And we got Famous Crimes. Really like this cover too. I think it's an interesting one. So this is Famous Crimes number 1. Nice girl in the green dress. And we got Murder Incorporated. And this is Murder Incorporated number 8, 1949. And some more Murder Incorporated. This is Murder Incorporated number 9. That was number 8, number 9. Then we have Underworld True Crime Stories. This is Underworld number 2. Another Seduction of the Innocent book. And we got Wanted, number 29. Now some of these books, even though this is like mentioned in Seduction of the Innocent, it's a fairly high grade, 6.0, not bad grade. These are fairly affordable, strangely enough. So this is Wanted number 29. It's kind of a cool book. And we got Famous Crimes. Police is like shooting the guy. Still a lot more to go. I got a bunch. And we got Crime Smashers. Nice girl in bondage there. This also have Sally Sleuth in it, which is cool. This is from 1952, so Crime Smashers number 9. Okay, I'm actually going to move these back over and create some space. And then we got Crime Does Not Pay, another Charles Biro cover. I like this one. He's like falling down the elevator shaft. This is number 34. Crime Does Not Pay, number 36. Guy's getting shot in the eye and a whole bunch of dead bodies. So this is another cool one by Charles Biro. Then we got Crime Clinic. This is a painted cover from Crime Clinic number 3, another Seduction of the Innocent book from 1951. And I've shown this one a lot. This is actually the highest graded one on the census. This is from the Promise collection. This is Crime Detective Comics number 9. And it's a white pager even. So it's really high quality. And that's Frederick Wortham being put in bondage. This one was also mentioned in Seduction and Ascent, so that's cool. And we got Guilty, a photo cover. This is Justice Traps the Guilty, number 13. And we got Crime Files, number 5. It's when the guy's about to murder him. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. And one last one, which I have to kind of get. This is one of my favorite. I say that a lot. My favorite. Okay, but this one is really cool. This is Underworld Crime, number 7. It's just one of these classic covers with the poker to the face kind of thing. Hot poker, girl in bondage, guy in the background, you know, in bondage as well. 2 criminals kind of holding her down. Just a great cover. Classic cover. So those are some of my crime comics. I have a ton more, actually. Those are just my graded ones. I have like probably another 50 or so raw crime comics. I just have a ton of those because I saw them as a pretty good investment, and they have some pretty cool covers, so I picked up a whole bunch of them. Okay, next question comes from Kevin Lambert. Do you have any comics with brittle pages? I actually have a few. Last time somebody else asked me this question, and I showed this book. This is Fight Comics number 31. Now, this one has what's called, it's brittle, it's actually brittle pages. It says brittle pages. And you can actually see a little bit of debris. I'm not sure if you can see that in the case, because the pages are very brittle. So something to be wary of, because sometimes brittle really does mean brittle pages, and the book can be kind of falling apart. This one, for the most part, I think it's actually okay. It's just a little bit of flakiness. Probably the tips of the paper are kind of at that point where they're a little bit brittle. But definitely brittle pages. So this is one that I showed last time, but I didn't show this book. And this is actually an interesting one because it's not brittle pages, but it is brittle pages. And I'll get into explaining that. And I kind of was a little bit surprised when I got this. Here, I'm going to take it out of this plastic. This is The Saint. This is actually Matt Baker cover. Really great cover, actually. It says slightly brittle pages. Okay, slightly brittle pages. But this one, I saw a huge amount of flakiness along the side here. I'm not sure if you can see that. And you can see, like, even in the case right here, there's some brittleness happening. I was actually shocked how much brittleness this had for slightly brittle. I was kind of thinking that, oh, it should be fine. It'll be okay. It's a bit more brittle than I would have expected. But, so sometimes brittle can actually be better than slightly brittle. That's why I just wanted to show that you never know what, once it says brittle, you're not really 100% sure how brittle that's going to be. But I still love this book. This is The Saint, number 4, with a Matt Baker cover. Okay, so those are some of my brittle comics. I actually try to, like, because of my experience with this Saint, I actually try to avoid brittle pages whenever I can. However, in the very first question I said, oh, I got one of my big books that I really wanted to get. It actually has brittle pages, but there's reasons for that. And if you watch this channel for the next few months, you'll find out the reason behind why it has brittle pages and what book that is. And it's actually a pretty major book. It's one that almost should be in a museum, that kind of level of comic. So yeah, so that will be in a future video. Last question comes from my good friend Steve Gardner, Stepify. He wrote, "The seemingly growing one-page slab phenomena. How do you view it? Do you think it is just a do you think it is a smart place to invest money?" So, what we're having right now is, like, especially during COVID, there was a situation where comics were just going through the roof, and what was happening was, in order to get into certain comics, people wanted to get the comics. They still had the FOMO feeling, where they wanted to get like a Batman one or some big book or some big character. So what would happen is they would go in that entry level point, which is maybe a 0.5, not even a complete book, and they'd try to. And the 0.5s would go really expensive, and even the 0.10s would go expensive. 2Os would go, all those low grades would go really, really expensive. And even getting the base base book, the most like destroyed comic you could find that was still gradable, was expensive. But still people wanted those books, like AF-15, Amazing Fantasy 15, or Batman 1, Detective 27, Wonder Woman 1, any of those kind of big grail books, even the most lowest, the lowest grade in those was kind of being priced out of most people's reach. So what did people do? Well, they get the next best thing. If you can't get a comic, why not just buy a page from that comic that you want? Now, there are two key things to know about pages. One is, well, obviously page quality matters. Page quality matters. It's unlike with comics, when it's a full comic, page quality matters to a certain extent. Like, people want that. Generally, they want white pages if possible. But with pages, if you're buying a page, you want that page to present as nicely as possible. So generally, you want it to be higher quality pages. Like the Brittle pages that I showed before won't cut it anymore. You want higher quality pages. That's one thing. And that really hasn't factored into pricing yet, but it will. So if you're going to start looking for pages, make sure you buy pages that are higher quality. And it's one of those things where it's not denoted on the slab. So generally, what you'll see on a page being graded is you'll see like the slab like this, but instead of a number in here, it'll just say NG, which means non-graded or not graded. I always get mixed up. Not graded, I think it is. And it just means that it's a page. Sometimes they'll, usually it's just NG. So the point is, you'll see that it doesn't always say what the page quality is. Sometimes it will. I shouldn't misspeak and say that it doesn't. But look for the higher quality page. And you can even use like the owl chart, which to determine what is the page quality. Like, is it yellowish, or is it tan, or is it off-white, or is it white? You kind of use a little bit of that judging of the page to determine whether it's a good page quality or not. So that's one thing. And that's really not playing into the value of those pages yet, but I think it will. The other thing that is kind of obvious, and getting a Batman 1 or Wonder Woman 1 or Amazing Fantasy 1 page, well, you can get a page that is an ad page, or you could get a page that is just some random page within the comic. Well, that isn't really that good. Most people wouldn't be really interested in that. But, there are people that would still want it. So those are going to be less valuable than a page that has, for example, Spider-Man, a splash page. In Batman 1, it might be the first appearance of the Joker, or a Joker appearance. So those pages generally go for more money. Now, back to what I was saying about COVID. So COVID, we saw the prices kind of going up through the roof. Well, things have come back down since then, and now these pages are less desirable. So they're kind of the first thing that people kind of move away from when the market kind of corrects, and there's now more affordable books where you can get the full book. People would much rather have the full comic than a page from the comic. But there are situations where that might not be true. And I'll give you a few examples. There are cases like Batman 1, which is still, an iconic cover, but having that book slabbed, you don't see that first Joker appearance. So having a page from a Batman 1 could be advantageous because people would want to have that on the wall where they say, hey, look, this is the first time you see the Joker. Kind of a cool page to have. Amazing Fantasy 15 has a really great first image of Spider-Man. Hulk 1 also has a really great page of the Hulk for the first time. There's a lot of comics where when they first show that new character appearance, they do actually a pretty great page for that character. So having those pages might be something of value. Now, I actually looked at pricing of these pages. Generally, like a Batman 1, a page from that will go from anywhere from $700 to $1,000 with a Joker appearance on it. But the range is within it fluctuates so much. It's one of those things where there's a thing where there's what's called the adoption curve. I always get into all these weird marketing things that I know from my day job, where there's this curve, okay, in terms of the number of people that would get involved in buying or speculating on something. So you get what's called the early adopters, and it's like a small group of people who will buy into something. Like the early people that bought into Bitcoin, they did well. But there's like 1,000 other coins that there was early adopters of those, and they lost big money on them. So it doesn't mean that just because you're an early adopter on some new thing that you're always going to win. These pages, it's the same idea. You don't know if it's going to go anywhere, if it's going to be a consistent thing that's going to be profitable in the future. So those are early adopters. Then there's like the ones that kind of come in later. The ones that they're it's sort of become popular, and they adopt into it at that time. Then there's the ones that are late to the boom, and then there's the speculators that come in as well. So there's sort of like different entry points that people come in. Well, the time that you can make the most money generally is that early adoption thing. Well, that's where we are with pages, where the biggest money that you can make would be now if it goes anywhere. But if it goes nowhere, well, then you're tough out of luck. So personally, I would stay away from it because I don't see it being something where it's going to go well in terms of, like, I'm just thinking that there's so many really low grade copies of those major books out there, like coverless, really just mangled copies that can be cannibalized for pages that could kind of flood the market and kill the market. So that's one of my concerns. And another concern that I have is you'd have to really know what pages are going to be the key pages to buy. And again, it goes back to those books that I said, AF-15, Batman 1, Wonder Woman, Sensation. Another one would be All-Star 8 with the first page appearances of characters I think have potential. If you can get in on a low price, do it. But be wary of that potential for those pages to be worthless. It's like anything. Comics can become worthless if the market dies for whatever reason. But the one good thing we have with comics is we're past that early adoption stage, and the market is pretty much, for the most part, is pretty steady for these books, ignoring any COVID bumps or whatever. So the point is, be wary. It might be a good place to invest. If you're going to invest in it, pick pages that you think would be characters that people would want to see on that page. So yeah, so that's my opinion on it. I'd love to hear other people's opinion. What do you think about any of these questions that I answered? What do you think? Do you think pages are worth investing in? Do you have any pages in your collection? Yeah, I'd love to hear people's feedback. And if you have a question that you'd like answered, put it in the comments below. And thanks again for watching. Bye for now.